Hey everyone, I'm Jay Hill, and welcome to episode 2 of Making a Game Character. This episode is going to be about refining, taking what we already had and pushing it more and more towards what we want the character to be. In the last episode, we ended up with a guy, and now we want to kind of try to move that guy into the character we're trying to make, in this case, Doomguy. So we want him to be a strong, heroic action hero type of look. So we're going to be refining that anatomy and that base mesh that we made, as well as beginning to block in the costume elements. So let's jump right in. So first thing I'm doing here is I just brought in a sphere and I'm starting to block in the helmet. The goal of blocking in these costume elements, right now I'm not worried about what they're going to end up being in the details or exactly. Right now I'm kind of feeling it out. I'm happy enough with the body to bring in other elements because I know I'm going to change the body a little bit. I'm going to tweak it a lot. So the more costume elements I would have, the more if I wanted to change, the size, it's a little bit more time because I have to change everything. So, but the helmet, the head I know is going to be there. And then I want to see how the body feels with the helmet on him because the helmet's going to be pretty big. So I want to see how the character's feeling with this big shape, which is going to be, one of the major elements of the costume anyway. He's not wearing much. The costume's kind of, I wouldn't say form-fitting, but it's not like a big hunking like suit. It's more that old school, like he's just wearing kind of marine pants and some chest armor. That's not crazy. So bringing in a sphere, I'm dynameshing it. The helmet kind of started out looking a little bit too simple and maybe a little too halo. So I'm trying to bring in these elements that are in the original design. Now you see me actually like going pretty close to the original design so that I can move stuff around from there and reinterpret things. But I want it to, instantly be recognizable as the Doom helmet while also feeling modern. So I'm trying out, different things. This is all really just feeling. This is sketching. So I'm not concerned myself with what the final thing's going to be. I'm masking out the shape here for the armor and just extracting it, dynameshing that. Again, this is just going to be the feeling. Also, I initially start here, you can see like chiseling it, which is a different vibe. And then I reconsidered that and thought I might as well first start at where Doom is, that on that cover art, that like main inspirational key art that I'm going off of. And then if I feel like I want to change the kind of style later by making it less round or more hard-edged, I'll do that later. Things like cutting in that groove on the top is going to be a way I can make it kind of sleek. So here you see me making the armor a lot more smooth now. And so now I'm going to take a break from the costume even more. Like now that I've been away from the body enough, like now it's starting to bother me again. So I turned off the costume elements so that that's not affecting my impression. And I'm just refining more the shape of just trying to make it feel better for me. I'm going to be going back over these arms 100 times probably because they're going to be one of the main things of the dude. Because there's no costume there. The arms being well done is going to be part of the character design, essentially. And I'm going to be playing too with how stylistically buff this guy is. Like, is he like, do I want him to look like a human? Right now I'm planning on, it's kind of like a heroic 8 heads tall kind of look. So I mean it's stylized but not overly so. Here I'm putting in some features actually just so I can feel the character more, that like chin dimple and the furrowing of the brow, so I can see the character standing there and see if it's feeling right, see if anything feels off. With the head just blank like that, I can't get a good impression of how he is right now. And then I'm also here, I'm tweaking that pose, this T pose. It's really important to me that it feels good while he stands there in the T pose. I mean, I'm going to be spending so much time with him here that I'm really investing a lot of time up front, and that's kind of an important thing to mention. Like the anatomy block out, the base mesh block out, the T pose, all the sizing relationships. So like not details, but how big things are and where they are. I am I'm toiling over those aspects at this stage before I move on, so that my life's easier later. I don't want to have to go back and do big changes, and I don't want to move ahead without feeling good about those big key concepts. So I'm spending a lot of time here, like with just this naked Basemesh guy, because I believe that if I do my good work here so that he feels good, like the size and the shape, and I go, yeah, this feels good. Then as I add costume elements to it, it'll make him feel better. And also this part is influencing those later parts. So I'm not trying to cover up something I'm not happy with something fancy. I'm not, like, for instance, I'm not relying on the chest armor to be with what's cool about this shape here and cover up some stuff I'm not happy with. I'm trying to be happy with there first, so that everything is being built up on layers, on good solid foundation work at each stage. And so that's kind of why I'm really messing around with this T-pose, which seems like, I'm just going back and forth, which is kind of what I'm doing, because, as I take breaks and if I come back on another day, then I think it's one of the things I look forward to, is the next day opening it up and just seeing, like, what's my first reaction, because you kind of get to dump all that emotional baggage or whatever makes something not clear, and then that night while you're sleeping, you just, like, release that stuff. So the next day when you look at it, each day you kind of get to look at your work through the eyes of someone seeing it for the first time, and that can be really sobering, and that can tell you what to do. Most times the next day when I come and look at it, I instantly want to start touching it and changing it. And here I'm going to be working on the face a little bit more. I actually measured in heads. Like, I actually cut the head off and duplicated it so I can measure how tall he is. Like I said, I'm going for that heroic kind of 8 head tall thing. There's also kind of a balance I'm playing with. Like, if the head's small, that makes him look tall, very tall. But I also want to look very strong and, like, big without being cartoon big. So, and that effect you get by making the head a little bit smaller. Then it looks like a big body with this head, right? So that's the balancing act I'm playing back and forth when I scale and rescale the head over and over. And cutting in these, see, I just scaled it up again. So now he looks like a buffer person. So those, like, little guys can have really good physique, because that relationship between the shoulders and the size of your head being the size of your pec or something like that. So that size relationships, or the size relationships, is what I'm messing around with right now. Here I'm going to extract the shirt, and now when I extract the shirt, I Dynamesh it. I actually I actually duplicated it and then hit it and then Dynameshed it so it was solid. And then with the clay brush, I'm going over the crevices, simulating cloth being stretched from peak to peak, so that it's smoothing it out, but the tension points are the anatomy landmarks that I made underneath. So that I'm trying to simulate what a very tight shirt would look like. In my mind right now, the plan is, in the costume, this undershirt would be like an Under Armour type of shirt, that, like, modern fabric that's tight, like football players and stuff will wear. And the pants I just extracted the same way. Those eventually probably be like marine BDU type pants. So now I'm bringing back the costume bits I blocked in earlier to see how are they looking now with all these changes. And the shapes, the body, like, tweaks that I did before are now going to be influencing this. And I blocked out a quick shoulder pad here, because that's going to be a big thing too. Is I'm going to have to figure out, here I'm blocking in the ear again, because I just want to be able to look at the head. I want to be able to look at the character at a glance right now and see how it's feeling. And, the head's got to have an ear for it to look like a guy. And then I'll even block in the eyes, which would be the last thing I do on the face. Right now I'm still trying to, like, not look at a personality, but just have him feel like a guy. But here comes the eyes. And you'll see instantly, like, once the eye is in, I can see how, oh, that's wrong. Like, the eyes are too low, or they're too close, too far apart. The head's actually too squashed. If you don't have the eyes in there, that's why I don't put them in immediately, is because then you can't instantly see, like, it doesn't feel bad, because it looks like kind of just a block out. But now I want to actually make the face look a little bit more like a person. So I put in these eyeballs and then start moving around, see how they feel. Like, how does it feel up? How does it feel far apart? And I'm not going after a specific actor or look or anything right now. I'm just blocking it in so I can see it all together. So that's it for this week. In total, what we just watched was 5 hours of recorded work. That plus the first video was around 4 hours. So we're about around 9 hours right now. And I'm going to finish blocking out the rest of the costume. And then once the whole costume is in there, then I'll start like moving things around there and making that feel good as a whole. And then I'll get to move on to refining stuff into more details and modeling some stuff. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Peace.